Hello ladies, welcome to the webinar, Christian Vitality Tips. 3 silent killer foods in your family's diet causing diabetes, heart disease, cancer, and body fat. And once you eliminate them from your diet will lead to, among other things, you never having to count calories again, you rapidly and permanently melting your stubborn body fat, helping you balance your body's own fat-burning hormones easily and naturally, you boosting your metabolism and fixing your digestion, not to mention helping prevent those ugly diseases ever occurring in your life. Sound good to you? Let's get started. So who is Pastor Dan Matasic? EJ is an A sound for anybody who cares. You can call me Pastor Dan or Dan. Pastor is actually a new title for me. But let me tell you a little bit more about me. I wasn't always a health and wellness expert, and I've only become a pastor just this last year as a commitment to my new ministry of helping believers live healthier and happier lives. This photo was taken after a couple of years on a path of kind of self-discovery of a new lifestyle, a sustainable way to lose weight. I lost 60 pounds and helped me live a healthier, happier life. But just a couple of years ago, this life wasn't so good, and I wasn't so in such great shape. I'll share the story mainly to tell you that I'm not some celebrity that you can't relate to. I'm just a parent just like you who's figured out a few things at work and is only a few steps ahead of where you could be with your health and wellness. What I've discovered flat out works and can work for you too. So facing your own mortality, my nightmare story. I'll never forget this night, Diana, my wife, and I just got the kids to bed. Yep, all 5 of them, which can have its challenges all by itself, as I'm sure you'll agree. I was standing in the kitchen when she told me, "Your life insurance policy's up for renewal in a few months. We need to schedule something with your agent to take care of that." And I was thinking, oh crap. I hadn't thought about that in a while, and it's been 10 years since I had got the policy in the first place. The last time I'd gone through this was when I was 29, and I just finished a bodybuilding contest after having lost tons of weight the hard way, starving myself and spending 6 to 7 days a week in the gym. Funny things happen inside your brain when you start to digest the fact that you will die someday, and maybe the fact that the insurance company will charge you more for your policy if you're unhealthy. It might mean that they expect you to die much sooner if you're in bad shape. So I'm not going to lie to you and say that cheapskate inside of me didn't want to save some money on my monthly premiums. It's always good to save. The bigger motivator for me was that I want to be around for my kids. It starts to get you to think, hey, look, if I'm unhealthy and they deem me unhealthy, so I get this, subprime insurance policy, it might mean they're expecting me to leave sooner than later. And when you start thinking about your own mortality, the things that really matter to you start to take a new perspective. But over the years, using the happy dad excuse, I guess, I got a little reckless and I didn't care as much about my health, and I kind of let myself go. And at that point, I was probably about 60 pounds overweight, and I needed to get the weight off pretty quickly. I was desperate to make a change, but I didn't want to go through what I had to go through before, so I committed to finding a new, better way, one that was sustainable, one that I could go through, lose the weight, but something that I could not only do just to lose this weight once, but to just keep it off forever. After lots of prayer, I asked God to kind of show me the way. Not only that, but I also felt led to blog about the journey, and I promised Him I would share what I discovered with other brothers and sisters in Christ. Fast forward to today, and I've literally read thousands of research studies, books. I bought training programs of numerous kinds. I've gone through urine tests, numerous blood tests, bought countless numbers of pieces of test equipment so I can test myself at home, all with the goal of finding a fast, easy, repeatable way for me to lose the weight, but also kind of learn a new lifestyle that will produce the healthiest, happiest believer I can be. And that's why we're here today, you and me. And if you want to know more about that story, you can go to my website, christianvitality.com, and read about the whole journey on my About Us page. My prayer for you is, it's my genuine and sincere prayer that this webinar will help bring a moment of clarity to your life, one that will inspire you to choose to live and truly live like a John 10:10 kind of life. Jesus said, the thief comes to steal, kill, and destroy. But I came so that they may have life, and that they may have life and have it more abundantly. That's what Christian vitality is. To me, that's what that Christian vitality means. Let's be real and 100% transparent. This webinar will absolutely be worth your time today. That's my desire, and I hope that it comes off that way for you too. Although it's free, I know you could have chosen to spend your time doing any number of other things. But thank you for investing your time with me. I sincerely appreciate it. In this webinar, you'll learn 3 areas of your family's diet that you can change that will lead to benefits you want. Losing weight, feeling great, and avoiding all those ugly diseases that are out there and actually in epidemic proportions. But I want to be transparent with you now. To do a great job, I need hours to go over all the aspects of your nutrition, and that goes beyond the scope of this presentation. I'm going to pack as much valuable information in this as I can, and I'm shooting for about an hour. It might be a little bit longer, but the fact of the matter is, in order for me to do a great job of teaching you all the things you would want or need or could use in your life, it'd take me more than just an hour. And at the end of this training, I'm going to extend an invitation to you so that you can further your education by trying out for only a few bucks the newly released and expanded version of this multimedia course. It goes over all the aspects of nutrition, not just these 3 areas I chose to kind of look at today, but it goes over all the different tips and tricks and tactics you can use to increase your Christian vitality through nutrition. And I'll tell you more about it at the end of this webinar, but I just want to kind of give you a heads up to be transparent. My goal overall is to grow my relationship with you so that you kind of get to know me and in time hopefully begin to trust what I have to share and teach you and help take you one step further down the path of achieving Christian vitality so that you can become a healthier, happier, Christ-centered person in life. I also hope that someday I'll earn the right to be called your most trusted advisor when it comes to your health. I'd also be extremely blessed if you were to participate in one of my other training and coaching programs. Would you please commit to at least letting me know what I can do to help you further along your personal journey? Whether it's an email, a comment on Facebook, or even calling me on the phone. I'd love to hear your feedback. Let me know what your needs are, what you'd like and didn't like about this webinar, and how I can do a better job in helping you. My email address is dan@christianvitality.com. You can comment or you can like my Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Christian Vitality. And through my website, you can even get my phone number and contact me if you'd like to call me. Any way I can help, that's really my passion. It's my new ministry. I've really committed to doing this the last couple of years, sharing biblical wisdom and modern science that will help you achieve Christian vitality, a healthier, happier you. And there's spiritual aspects to it, there's health aspects to it, and there's also kind of some mindset and, basically all 3 aspects of your life: your mind, your will, your emotions, as far as your soul goes, your spiritual aspects. I have a book that I'd love to share with you that if you choose to participate in the extended version of this course, you'll get as a bonus the Christian Vitality Prayer. It was a bestseller on Amazon, and I'll love to share that with you as well, along with the MP3s that come with it. And anyway, let me keep going. I'm sorry to ramble there. So one thing I wanted to say is that this is kind of an unpopular message, and the unhealthy truth about this standard American diet it's becoming more and more mainstream. There's more and more doctors. There's probably, I'd say, a good few dozen doctors out there now that are preaching the truth, but it's not a popular message. And I'm not, kind of like Jesus was in his time. He wasn't very popular with the message he shared, and so I'll throw my lot in with him. I'm an ambassador of his and a representative of his, so it'd only be expected that I'd be sharing an unpopular message. So I kind of go against the grain of just the standard American diet and what a lot of the mainstream, uneducated mainstream, I'd say, people share about the diet and what you need to do. But today's presentation may come off as a bit negative because we're talking about aspects of the standard American diet that may be, without a nicer way of putting it, killing you. But it's not your fault if you've been on this path. the fact of the matter is that we've been lied to, and to some extent by government agencies like the FDA, the USDA, the AMA. A lot of the regulations and dietary recommendations that they've been promoting to us are based off of old science, some of which was actually heavily lobbied by big agricultural companies that benefited from us eating all this stuff. I'm not a big conspiracy theory guy, but I do believe that there is something to this in regards to the food pyramid we use in the USA right now. I tend to be very optimistic, so don't label me Debbie Downer or some very negative person. But the truth of the matter is that a lot of the things we're going to share today are very negative, and I tend to be more of an optimist, so forgive me for that. I'd actually classify myself as a realistic optimist, so it goes against my grain to focus on negative things at any given time. But the truth is that the truth will be truths that we'll be learning about nutrition are about foods and why you should make changes to what you eat. Hang in there till the end, and I promise there's hope, and I want to help you get there. So it's not your fault, but it is your responsibility now to make a change for the better. Can we fast forward through life to this moment and decide today, right now, at this moment, to own your own stuff, to take responsibility for all your decisions to this point, and give ourselves permission to receive Christ's forgiveness for our past that were paid for on the cross? One way to define responsibility is the ability to respond. So I'm asking that you commit to responding today in some way after being equipped with the truth and make some changes towards a better life. Although a couple of things I'll share with you may seem common sense, they're not common practice. And to compound things, the food companies have gotten really sneaky about how they get some of the stuff into the foods that we eat. So these days we have to be extra careful in order to protect ourselves and our families. Once I teach you the truth about what you need to do to start taking better care of yourself, you'll want to make some changes. So hang in there, and let's please do something with it, what I share with you today. But one of the concepts that I've been kind of preaching over the last couple of years through Christian Vitality is that you're a victory in progress. That's right. If you hang out with me long enough, you'll adopt this, I hope. You, sis, are a VIP, a victory in progress, not only in your walk with Christ and your growth in your faith, but also in your pursuit of a healthier, happier life. I believe that the quality of our lives is based on the aggregate sum of the choices that we make. As we make better choices, what I call small victories along the way, we gradually progress towards victory in all areas of your life, whether it's spiritual, mental, physical, emotional. As we make better choices, we'll end up living a better life. So life itself could be a victory in progress. So here comes the realist again. I know that it's tough to make changes to your diet. I don't expect that many of you will go gung-ho and completely change everything in your diet that I share with you today. I would also caution you that you not try to change your husband's or your kids' diets completely. Just keep all this information in the back of your mind and make subtle changes slowly. Try it on yourself first. And after you find you start to feel better, essentially proving this stuff works to yourself, then and only then start to make better choices for your kids. When your husband starts to see the changes in you that you're making and how you can start to feel better, perhaps he'll be inspired by you to start adopting these changes. But I wouldn't cram it down his throat. I wouldn't force it on your kids. Try it on yourself first, and you're going to have to kind of damper your mother hen enthusiasm and focus it on you. Yes, I just gave you permission to be selfish too. Take care of yourself first. Now, without further ado, let's get started with our training. The unhealthy truth and science about sugar, vegetable oil, and whole wheat bread, and what they do to the cells of your body. Stop eating these, please. So you might have heard some things about sugar. You might have read a book. You might have heard something about vegetable oil in the past, although that's kind of a sneaky one, and whole wheat bread. But hang in there. Don't bail on me now. I'm sure that there's lots of stuff that I'll be sharing with you today that you haven't heard or read about yet. And hang in there. So the problem is that most people don't understand the reasons these foods destroy your hormones and metabolism and cause all these ugly diseases that I mentioned earlier. The fact is that some of the foods I listed earlier can not only destroy your hormones and metabolism, but can also cause you to get heart disease, type 2 diabetes, Alzheimer's, and even cancer. And one that's kind of a sneaky one that I didn't even mention was obesity, which we'll talk a little bit more about here shortly. Not only that, but as you'll see in the next slides, there's a common plant-based food that you probably eat in restaurants frequently. I bet you ate it at least once this week. And this common plant food is proven to cause heart attacks. You'll see what I mean as you continue to watch this video to the end. The results of all these things in our diets over the last, really getting heavily more the last 20 years and really the last 40 years, is that obesity finally has been declared as a disease epidemic. It was actually labeled a disease for the first time in February by the Center of Disease Control. And I kind of reached that Debbie Downer character now again, and I have to tell you the truth that these foods are silently killing you and your family, causing these ugly diseases. And you're not alone, though. It's been happening to all of America. When the standard American diet took a turn for the worse a few decades ago, it put all of America on this path and is the main reason that these horrible diseases are reaching absolute epidemic proportions. Did you know that obesity is now a disease? Yep, in February 2013, the CDC actually labeled it as a disease and said it would soon leap forward past heart disease and cancer and become the #1 killer of Americans. They go on to say that in the next 2 decades that 95% of Americans will either be obese or on their way if we won't do something to change the course we're on soon. Come on, ladies. We were all panicked about the bird flu and Ebola, but most of America is going to have obesity in their lives the next 2 decades. That should have us all in a state of panic. 1/3 of all children, as of 2012, were considered obese. And they're the first generation of Americans expected to live shorter lives than their parents. That's a scary statistic. 35% of Americans, 110 million people, are currently obese. And by 2050, the CDC expects that 1/3 of Americans will have diabetes too. These are ugly, ugly things. The good news is that you can do something about it in your life and change the way you eat so that you boost your metabolism, balance your hormones, prevent heart attacks in your life, stop cancer, and assure you never get diabetes. It's starting to get attention and government funding, which is good news as well. And you're starting to hear vague reports from the news media about how sugar's bad for you and wheat and gluten are bad for you, but do you truly understand what they do to your insides? That's kind of the question. And I'll talk about that if you continue to stick with me here. So stay tuned, and I'll show you exactly what you need to understand to eat in a way that boosts your metabolism and balances your hormones, prevents heart attacks, stops cancer, and prevents you from getting these ugly diseases. So let's get to it. Why is sugar killing you? Tip: you can't just burn it off. You've heard a million times from health experts, bloggers, and the news that sugar is terrible for you, but most people don't truly understand why it's so bad. In fact, most people falsely think that if they eat sugar, they can just exercise a little bit harder that day or the next day so they can burn it off. Unfortunately, that kind of thinking will lead you to an early grave. It's not as simple as just burning off sugar. It's about what sugar does internally to your cells of your body and how sugar gums up your internal workings, causing disease. Once again, I'm not exaggerating here, so pay close attention. If you knew exactly why sugar is so bad for you and exactly what it does to your cells in your body, I promise that you would think twice about eating that piece of cake, candy, sugary soft drink, or fruit juice, or even ice cream, and feeding them to your kids as well. All right, let's get to the specifics. Reasons why sugar is killing you. Scary stuff. Sugar causes glycation, accelerating the rate of aging of your organs, arteries, skin, and joints. So it's making you older faster. Opposite of vitality. Slows down your white blood cells. When your white blood cells slow down, infection is more likely and may even lead to cancer cells having a better chance of forming in your body. It also raises your triglycerides, and when triglycerides are raised to dangerous levels, it can lead to heart disease. It can also cause insulin resistance, which means that you eat sugars and your body is resistant to the insulin that it dumps into your body. Your body's trying to throw insulin in your bloodstream to process this sugar, and your body becomes more resistant to the amount of insulin because you keep dumping more and more insulin in your body, so it becomes resistant. And if you actually become insulin resistant, the end result is type 2 diabetes, and that's not something you want. You might have a friend, a family member that has diabetes, and the scarier thing is if you do have a family member up your family tree, like your mother, aunt, uncle, grandparents, if any of them have diabetes, you are genetically predisposed to possibly getting it as well. So if you have it in your family tree, you should be extra sensitive to sugars and how much you consume. So, you already know that sugar makes you fat. I mean, everybody would probably not argue with that. And it gives you excess calories without any beneficial nutrients. But to clarify, when we talk about how much damage sugar does to your body, we're not talking about tiny amounts of sugar like having 5 grams of sugar from a teaspoon of honey in your tea. Small amounts of natural sugar aren't the problem. The real damage occurs when you eat the piece of cake, or you ingest 40 or 50 grams of sugar in one sitting, or that bag of candy, or soft drink with 45 grams of sugar, or even that so-called healthy smoothie at the local smoothie shop that contains a whopping 80 grams of sugar because of all the fruit syrups that they use in them. That's the stuff that can, that's kind of scary to think that a fruit smoothie has almost twice as many grams of sugar in it than a can of soda. So, but let me give you a couple tips. If you decide to try to make some changes, one way is to kind of wean yourself off of sugar. I'm going to be the realistic optimist here, and research is recently proven that sugar is as addictive as crack cocaine or heroin. I've actually just read research where they did brain scans on people before and after sugar and compared them to the brains of people before and after heavy narcotics, and they basically look the same. So yes, I get that it can be tough to get off of the sugar because I'm a recovering sugaraholic myself. So I'll offer a few tips for you here that can help lead you down the road to recovery. If you wean yourself off of sugar, let me give you an example. My wife Diana, she decided to make a change, and one of her kind of nightly rituals after dinner was to have a bowl of ice cream with her, with some chocolate syrup on it. And one way that she's kind of weaned herself off of sugar is to substitute that with some instant hot chocolate instead of that whole bowl of ice cream with chocolate covered syrup or chocolate syrup. So although many reasons I cover in my programs, I don't really like sugar substitutes because they, for the most part, and I'll spare you all the details on sugar substitutes because that's not part of this seminar. But there are sugar substitutes that are just literally not good for you at all. They can cause growths, thyroid problems, these kinds of things. There are some that are a little bit safer, but even the safer ones, like the popular Splenda, can cause problems with your internal digestive system. You're basically killing all the probiotics that are inside your intestinal tract, all the good bacteria. And so I don't recommend them, but in order to kind of be a stopgap or get you closer to getting off of sugar, if you feel like you're having a craving for something sweet, I mean, just pop a piece of sugarless gum. My favorite's the Big 5 RPM. It's kind of a fruit flavored one, but any sugar-free gum would work. But it's not really a long-term solution that I'd recommend you eat sugar-free gum all day long, but it can help get you off of the sugar. And eat more whole carbohydrate foods and proteins and fats. If you end up eating a whole food diet that's full of good carbohydrates that have really great nutrition and nutrients and phytochemicals and the things that your body needs, you'll have less cravings for the sugar. So once you start eating better and fill your body with the right kinds of food, your body will stop craving sugar after a couple of weeks. All right, the next one is 3 reasons why vegetable oil is killing you. It sounds healthy enough. It has the word vegetable in it, right in the name, right? It's not made from vegetables, though, really. Vegetable oil actually comes from any combination of corn oil, which is actually a grain, soybean oil, canola oil, safflower oil, and or cottonseed oil, all of which are absolutely terrible for your health. In fact, I'm not even exaggerating when I say they can be downright deadly, and here's why. Reason number one, vegetable oils cause massive imbalances to your omega-6 and omega-3 fat ratios. In the last several years, you may have become aware of the popularity of fish oil, and maybe even been marketed the krill oil you may have been marketed to with krill oil, which is actually a better form of the fatty acids and omega-3. And there's tons of science backing this up, and it has hit mainstream media the last several years. But what you may not know is the inflammatory aspect of omega-6 fats, which are in about everything we Americans eat these days. One of the major reasons that vegetable oils are killing you is they are mostly made up of inflammatory omega-6 fats, while having very little anti-inflammatory omega-3 fats. The healthiest ratio from scientific literature appears to be a ratio of like 2 to 1 or even 1 to 1 as far as omega-3 versus omega-6. However, most vegetable oils skew your ratio as high as 20 to 1, 20 omega-6 for every portion of omega-3, or even 30 to 1 in favor of the harmful inflammatory omega-6 fats. And worse yet, these omega-6 fats are not the innocent type found in nuts. They are the mutant damaged, what Dr. Mary Enig calls megatrans type. They're even uglier than the trans fats that have kind of hit the media. And they actually harm the tissues of your body. This omega fat imbalance can be yet another reason why vegetable oils lead to heart disease, cancer, and obesity, and many other degenerative diseases that will shorten your life significantly if you don't cut out the vegetable oils as soon as possible. As a quick note, the solution to a lot of these problems with vegetable oils is to use healthier oils like coconut oil, olive oil, macadamia oil, avocado oil. There's even some other nut oils, walnut and hazelnut and almond. And grass-fed butter is a great substitute for a lot of the bad, all of which are much healthier for you than the vegetable oils and don't cause any of the problems we described in this section of this webinar. Reason number two, vegetable oils, even non-hydrogenated, usually contain deadly trans fats. These are the ones that got the bad press lately, and they've become a big topic, and it's actually become federally mandated that manufacturers disclose the amounts that are in their products. So they're getting a lot more sensitive to allowing them in their products, which is good, but some of these trans, call them mutated fats, the megatrans fats, they might be kind of sneaking through without getting caught on the labels. It's because the trans fats can kill you by causing damage to your cell membranes in your body. They lead to all sorts of these things. It's leading to all sorts of scary health problems like cancer, obesity. They're even linking to Alzheimer's. Obviously, heart disease is one of them, and even some others. So you probably started to stay away from foods containing partially hydrogenated vegetable oils. So you might think, oh, all is safe now then, right? Well, wrong. What you probably don't know is that even non-hydrogenated vegetable oils, all vegetable oils are refined, also contain some trans fats due to the extremely high heat. They heat these oils up to refine them. They also use solvents, and they use high pressure. So when they put it through this refining process, it causes these trans fats to form. And yes, it even includes the expeller pressed vegetable oils as well. All of these high heat and high pressure processes, along with the use of hexane solvents, actually forces some of the polyunsaturated content of vegetable oils, yes, even the so-called healthy canola oil, to be transformed into trans fats, and like I mentioned before, the megatrans. According to Dr. Mary Enig again, she's a nutritional biochemist, and she says, although the Canadian government lists the trans fat content of canola oil at a minimal 0.2%, research at the University of Florida at Gainesville found trans fat levels as high as 4.6% in commercial liquid canola oil. So that even though the label says it's 0.2%, they actually tested it in the laboratory and found that it was really 4.6%. So these trans fats are kind of sneaking in under the radar, and you may be thinking that they're not in your label, and they are. One thing you may not know about the labels is that if it's less than 2%, they often don't even list it on the label. Well, that might be how these trans fats are kind of sneaking through, is that the label says there's 0 trans fats because they believe it to be less than 2%, where in fact it might actually be, if they took it to the lab and tested the food, it could be as high as 4.6%, as they found in the University of Florida's labs. So this garbage that the government and giant food conglomerates are marketing to you as healthy oil, don't fall for it. So reason number 3, vegetable oils contain oxidized, mutated fats, like I mentioned before, that are worse for you than trans fat and cause heart attacks. All vegetable oils contain oxidized fats due to the refining process and chemical reactions with polyunsaturated fat. Expert nutrition author Dr. Catherine Shanahan, calls the fats in vegetable oils megatrans, because they're similar in chemistry to trans, but even worse. And megatrans fats are found in almost all processed packaged foods, as well as virtually all restaurant fryers. French fries have been proven to immediately harm your arteries after eating them. Believe it or not, free radicals formed during the refining of vegetable oils create these mutant fats, which damage your cell membranes and chromosomes and create massive inflammation in your body. The free radicals in vegetable oils also damage your arteries, which can directly lead to a heart attack. Please be aware that this isn't just a long-term risk of eating vegetable oils daily. There are also studies that show that immediate dysfunction in your arteries, also called endothelial function. The same doctor as before, Catherine Shanahan, says in her book, Deep Nutrition, that a study from New Zealand showed that subjects who ate French fries from a restaurant fryer displayed immediate harm to their endothelial function of their arteries, going from a normal 7% dilation before eating the French fries to almost no dilation, basically constricting, and after eating the French fries. This is one thing that can cause heart attack. If you think I'm exaggerating, think again. She also stated that she surveyed hundreds of patients that were admitted to the hospital for a heart attack, and she discovered that every single patient that she interviewed had a heart attack, had consumed foods made with vegetable oils with their last meal before the heart attack occurred. That's pretty scary. Think about that next time you order the fries with that sandwich on the menu. It really is that serious. Always ask to replace French fries that come with most meals with some, maybe a salad or some veggies. It'd be a lot better choice. It may very well be the difference between dying tomorrow or enjoying many more years on this beautiful planet. So some Christian vitality tips that deal with fats, or how to get more healthy fats, is my recommendation is that you use coconut oil at home for cooking everything. I wouldn't actually use any other oils, even olive oil. The reason being is that the heat actually damages the oils. So this is what I've actually specifically highlighted. And when you're at home, if you take a perfectly acceptable oil like olive oil and throw it in the pan to saute some vegetables, the heating that happens to oil causes it to oxidize. And as I mentioned before, a few minutes ago, we don't want to consume oxidized oils. So tip number 1, as it relates to oils, is to not use any other oil for cooking except coconut oil, which is resistant to oxidation. And tip number 2 is to eat more healthy oils like coconut oil, avocado oil. There are even some more expensive options great on salad, but not for cooking, for the same reason I mentioned before, like walnut, chestnut, and even almond. Grass-fed, sometimes called Irish butter, is great too because it's high in omega-3 fatty acids and also contains butyric acid, which has a list of benefits that would take another 15 to 30 minutes to cover. For now, know that grass-fed butter, or meat for that matter, equals healthy for me, for you. That's what I meant. All right, 3 reasons why wheat is killing you. Sorry to be so depressing. Stay focused. We're going to do something about this. It's not negative. We're going to do something. All right, so number 1, gluten and other gut-damaging compounds. I'm kind of saving the worst for last with wheat. Not literally, as some doctors and experts might argue that sugar and oils could easily take the lead. I think wheat, yes, even whole wheat, is the worst because I have a personal love-hate, mostly hate, relationship with it. 9 years ago, my son Jonathan was diagnosed with autism, and I won't go into the heavy details of what led up to it and the controversy behind his adverse reaction to some immunizations. He was sick as a dog for a month after he got his last shots when he was 15 months. But I found out through my research that many kids on the autism spectrum were responding well to a gluten-free diet, so it kind of plunged me into this alternative health, looking for different ways to treat autism through his diet. And this was long before it was mainstream like it is today. It was kind of tough to switch them over to gluten-free. It's almost a marketing gimmick these days to slap that label on your box of cereal, or all of a sudden your cereal that may be loaded with sugar is healthy. The food manufacturers early on discovered you could charge 25 to 50% more money, and sometimes 100% more money for the same food if it was marketed as gluten-free. So it's getting really popular just because it's kind of more of a marketing gimmick. And the good news for me that is true today and was not 9 years ago is that gluten-free food is much more widely available than it was back then. There were only like a couple of things I could find anywhere unless I went to a health food store. And the public awareness of this phenomenon is growing steadily. So even if people don't know why they should eat gluten-free, it's becoming more and more available, but also more people are starting to understand, hey, maybe there's something healthy about gluten-free. So I'll go into more detail and significantly more detail in the other multimedia course. But some of these gluten-free foods aren't much better for you than regular foods that are similar, but this falls under the Victories in Progress umbrella I mentioned before. It's a lesser of two evils when it comes to gluten and wheat-containing products. So let's get into why whole wheat is killing you softly. One of the reasons, actually, sorry, I went one slide too far. Reason number one, no, we just went over that, sorry. Okay, I think I skipped a slide here. Let me go back to, go here, there we go. All right, gluten. Sorry guys. Anyway, I missed my spot here. The topic of gluten is on fire in the media lately, but most gals I've spoken with are confused about whether there's any real health risks with gluten for the average person that doesn't have celiac disease. The truth is that even if you are not officially gluten intolerant or gluten sensitive, there are hundreds of published studies that indicate that gluten can cause inflammation in your digestive system and even cause permeability in your gut, which can lead to a health condition that's on the rise lately called leaky gut, as well as other digestive issues and autoimmune problems. What that means is that the gluten can cause small little cracks in your intestinal walls that allow small molecules to leak into your bloodstreams from the food that you eat. It's not a good thing to have going on, and is a big reason why I have to be super vigilant with what Jonathan eats. For him, if he'd eat a piece of pizza, which is super high gluten flour, which is why it's so chewy and yummy really, he'd be bouncing off the walls because the gluten molecules would leak into his bloodstream and would cause a reaction with what my doctor told me is kind of like taking LSD and being drunk at the same time. It literally was like that. He was a 2-year-old little kid, and if he ate anything gluten, even today if he ate anything gluten, he'd just be silly, super silly. It's not a pretty sight, especially when he's 2 and he's bouncing off the walls at 2 trying to go to sleep. He'd be up, oftentimes he'd be up until 2 o'clock in the morning until we finally switched him off of gluten completely. But he's been basically gluten-free now for almost 9 years. The scientists theorize that the reason gluten is causing these digestive symptom problems, even in normal people, is due to the excessive hybridization of wheat over the last 50 years, which has created new modified gluten molecules that are foreign to human digestive system compared to the ancient wheat that humans ate several thousand years ago. So even compared to the wheat that maybe your grandparents ate 50 years ago, it's a completely different wheat hybrid than what they ate back then. Reason number 2, wheat causes blood sugar disruption, glycation of your cells, which increases your aging, weight gain, and it also boosts your diabetes risk. Before I tell you why wheat can actually speed up the aging process in your body, let's clarify some simple biochemistry in your body. This deals with the glycation in your body and some substances called advanced glycation end products, and you might see people talking about them and calling them AGEs. These nasty little compounds, like I said, are called AGEs. They speed up the aging process in your body, including damage over time to your organs, your joints, and of course wrinkled skin. So with that said, what is one of the biggest factors that increase production of AGEs inside of your body is eating wheat. And this may surprise you, but high blood sugar levels over time dramatically increase age-accelerating AGEs in your body. So if you're eating super sugary wheat-containing products, it's kind of like a double whammy. And that's why type 2 diabetes many times appears that diabetics many times appear that they have not aged well and look older than their real age. But this age increasing effect is not just limited to diabetics. So let's get back to how whole wheat relates to this. Here's a little known fact that's often covered up by massive marketing companies, by giant food companies that want you to believe that whole wheat's healthy for you. But the fact is that wheat contains a very unusual type of carbohydrate not found in other foods called amylopectin A, which has been found in some tests to spike your blood sugar higher than even pure table sugar. In fact, amylopectin A from wheat raises your blood sugar more than almost any other carbohydrate source on earth based on blood sugar response testing that's documented in studies. This means that wheat-based foods such as breads, bagels, cereals, muffins, and other baked goods often cause much higher blood sugar levels than most other carbohydrate sources. If you don't believe me, here's something you should know. If you were to test your blood, I've tested my blood with I've pricked my finger and you use the glucose meter. If you were to prick your blood and test an equivalent amount of whole wheat toast and oatmeal, the differences you'd see after 45 minutes is a blood sugar spike for the wheat going from about an 86 all the way up to 155. And if you were to do the same thing for an equivalent amount of oatmeal, the blood sugar increase would go from 86 to 112. So they're basically both carb sources, but the whole wheat toast would almost double your blood sugar level. And as you know, the higher your average blood sugar levels are over time, the more these AGEs are formed inside your body, which makes you age faster. So clearly the whole wheat spiked your blood sugar much higher than the oatmeal. And if you don't know, that 155 is a massive blood sugar reading that will certainly contribute to faster aging if you eat wheat frequently. And most people eat wheat without even thinking about it almost every meal. Yikes. Not only that, but the high blood sugar spikes caused by wheat also makes your body pump out more insulin, which makes you pack on more body fat. Not fun at all. These massive blood sugar spikes from eating wheat daily also cause damage over time to your blood sugar regulation system, harming your pancreas, causing insulin resistance, and eventually causing type 2 diabetes. I think we have a strong case against eating so-called healthy wheat. Reason number 3 wheat is bad for you are that it contains anti-nutrients that are technically mineral and vitamin blockers. They're kind of naturally occurring compounds in a wheat plant, but can cause undesirable effects in humans that eat too much of them. One of these anti-nutrients is called phytates, which blocks the absorption of in your body of minerals like zinc and iron and manganese and calcium if you eat wheat too often. So again, most people eat wheat with almost every meal: cereal in the morning, bread on a sandwich at lunch, and pasta or bread at dinner. So this can cause a mineral deficiency in your body over time that leads to many health conditions. Wheat has other mineral blockers and anti-nutrients aside from phytates, such as lectins. Lectins are another constituent of wheat that causes gut irritation. Yet another reason to minimize or eliminate wheat from your diet. And there's absolutely nothing essential about wheat in the human diet. It simply does more harm than good. That's it. Many people often ask, but what about the fiber in wheat? I thought that's what it's supposed to be, why it's supposed to be healthy. But you can get all of your fiber that you need from fruits and veggies and nuts without the digestive system damage and blood sugar issues that are caused by wheat. So that's the third and final section of today's webinar, but I'm going to give you kind of a bonus of 23 so-called health foods that you should avoid like the plague. So now that you know that sugar and wheat and vegetable oils are killing you and your family, maybe you can think twice about eating cereals, breads, bagels, muffins, candy, processed foods, fried foods from restaurants, and are cooked in vegetable oil. Here are some examples of foods that that we know are making you fatter, causing diabetes, heart disease, and cancer. And I can't tell you how many times I've walked into the kitchen of friends of mine and try to give them some nutritional counseling, and I'll see some of these supposed health foods that are terrible for them. Whole grain breads, whole grain cereals, whole grain crackers, soy milk. Specifically, soy milk's really not great for your hormones, and especially for kids, especially for young boy kids. It's been proven that it actually increases estrogen in young boys and can screw with how they develop as a boy. Tofu and veggie burgers. The non-fermented soy can be harmful to your hormones as well. Orange juice, which is really loaded with too much fructose, also raises your triglycerides and causes those insulin spikes. Apple juice, which is really just sugar water. You know, I've done it with my kids as well. I used to think apple juice was healthy too, but once you find out how much sugar is in a glass of apple juice, you really you owe it to yourself to give it a second thought about not allowing your kids to have it. Skim milk or homogenized milk aren't really great for you either, which we didn't cover today, but I'll cover more in our extended course. Margarine, which has gotten less popular over the last probably 10 years, but you know, if you are using margarine, it tends to have a lot of the trans fat or even the mega trans fats. They're prepackaged diet dinners. Those all kind of sneak in a lot of, you know, really high salt. They often have pretty high sugar compared to what the food compared to the picture on the box of the dinner, and they often have the bad oils in them too. Sports drinks. I mean, when was the last time you read a label on some Gatorade? I mean, the stuff's just packed with sugar. Protein bars are most are really candy bars in disguise. There's only a couple that I'd even recommend that you try. One of which is the Quest bar. That's one that I really like. I eat one at least once a day. Or the overly processed meal replacements that actually have more junk in them than healthy ingredients. Rice cakes, massive blood sugar spike from those. Pasta, especially the whole wheat pasta, they'll actually make you age faster. Diet ice cream or diet desserts, so-called energy drinks of any kind, those aren't great for you. And even the diet energy drinks, most of them have some pretty bad sweeteners in them. Although there's one that I would recommend that I do have from time to time. It's the Xience, Xience. It's really the only diet drink I would ever drink, and I only drink them once in a while. They have a sweetener in them called erythritol, which, as far as I can tell, for the biggest sweetener in it's erythritol, and from what I can tell from research, that's one of the safer sweeteners, artificial sweeteners. But anyway, for the most part, artificial sweeteners are best just to stay away from. But any of the low-carb processed foods are not great for you. And again, anything that has soybean oil, corn oil, or canola oil is something that you should avoid. So your simple solution for eating a healthy diet that promotes Christian vitality permanently, and I wanted to kind of go over this, like I promised you earlier, I was going to give you a personal invitation to the multimedia course is expanded if you want to continue your education. That we didn't have much time to cover a lot of this today, but I go over all of these things kind of as the ultimate guide to Christian vitality nutrition. It's basically going to be numerous videos that are all kind of sorted like a library. They cover all the different areas. So if you want to know about artificial sweeteners, you can go to the artificial sweetener section and watch the videos that just go over all the different artificial sweeteners. If you wanted to know about dairy, some of the pros and cons of dairy, you can go to that section. So imagine kind of the ultimate library of these videos that cover all this different nutrition. That's what I'm going to be offering to you today. And I'll give you a quick demo, and I'm offering it to you for $9.95. There's guys that are selling just books like this for $30 or $40, and these are actually videos recording all of this training for you in a kind of a library format. And so if you wanted to learn more about it, I'll show you in a demo video here in just a second.